Hi everyone, and welcome to this real-time episode of Trying Not to Sink, where we discuss how we ended up drifting into a rock cliff, taking on water in our bilge, what happened to the boat, and what we learned in the process, and the changes that we plan to make so that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. And if you haven't caught our previous episode, you might want to take a look at it.
One look in your eyes and I find it. When you leave in my mind I rewind it. When you got it this good, you don't fight it.
Now, as our viewers will recall, in the last episode, we were anchored out at just below Chub Cay, and our boat, the anchor drug in the middle of the night, and our boat drifted into a rock wall, basically, the side of an island.
A monster.
Yeah. And we, it happened in the middle of the night. We were taking on water. The bilges were filled. And here's a couple minutes of footage that Lynn shot right after we had got off the cliff and we had drained the bilges, and we were a little bit calmed down and we're trying to figure out what happened and where the water came from. Take a look.
Check it out. Okay. We hit the back by their place, right? Nothing here. It's like basically they're.
It's like it never happened, you know what I mean?
But we still got the leak filling.
No, that's so slow. That could be a trickle from someplace. Like, this is empty, look.
Yeah, I know, it's
The
empty.
water ran back.
Okay. Nothing in the bow. Nothing in the bilge.
He hasn't been running that for the last 5 minutes. Here's what, you haven't been running the bilge at all for the last couple minutes, right?
That's correct.
We have no water in the bilge.
No water coming in.
No water seems to be coming in, and we can't find the fucking leak anywhere.
Okay.
So how the water got there, I have no idea, but it was there.
Yep.
It was a lot.
Yep. We were definitely healing support, but I'm just going to turn back around, basically back to where we're going. So I'm just going to come back down to here.
Yeah. Let's leave this off for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
I don't know what would cause a temporary leak that would go away. That's the weird thing.
True.
Well, you guys wanted to be with Trying Not to Sink.
We need to go with another channel.
Yeah. You guys
that
should
has
stop
nothing to
with
do.
Bobby and
Has
Boom
nothing to do with sinking.
I think we'll skip on with the wind.
We
We had enough wind.
have anchored so many times and never have run adrift like that.
Or the alarm not going off. It's like. So we have the plan set for Chub Cay.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do?
I think we're gonna hold steady right now, slowly following our course. I'm gonna go look. We're not running the bilge pump. No water was coming in.
None. It stopped. It was.
It does seem like we are healing to port again.
Yeah,
Does
we're
it?
stopped listing.
Well, no, we weren't, and now it feels like we're listening.
Okay, so I'll go look again. It could be current, it could be wind. You know.
Yep.
But I'm gonna go just keep a monitor on it.
Is this the new mat?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I always
Yeah.
preset the mat the night before. Correct.
And fortunately, if whatever course we're taking, we're going through shallow waters.
Yeah. The whole thing is shallow, so we could just veer off to the right or left the whole way.
But we'll monitor it for a little bit here and see. You know, I just don't understand why we take on water and then not
That
take on
much.
water. How did that water get in? Like, was it washing over something? Or did it get in somehow when we were stuck over there? I don't know. But I'm gonna go down and look again. I'll be right back.
All right. Do you need me to come with you?
No,
or
I'm
you?
good.
Okay.
The bilges were dry, so we continued through the night to Chub Cay.
rising now, it's very slow.
So it slowed down a lot by turning off the air conditioners.
Possibly.
Maybe.
I mean, this could be an unrelated problem. You know, you might just have an air conditioning line leaking or something. I mean, it is still rising, but I mean, it doesn't mean it's not just like coming from the front of the boat and just kind of seeping in. Conditioning units are all in here except for the one in our bedroom. So the first thing I'm going to do is check the one in our bedroom. Let's see if there's any problem there, because I didn't look there yet.
Well, at this point, I have identified where the water is coming from, but I am mistaken about why it's coming from that area. Now, our boat has sea chests on them, and if you're not familiar with what a sea chest is, it's basically a box.
You might want to say that again, because I did this.
Okay, well, if we can leave that. That's a sea chest as well. But a sea chest is basically a box where maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different hoses come in. Say from your sump, your shower, perhaps your air conditioner, and they all come into one box, and then from that box there's one through hole that goes outside the boat. And I guess the idea is it saves you from putting a whole bunch of through holes in your boat. So anyway, that's what a sea chest is, and our boat has a couple of them. There was one in our master stateroom, and on the outside of the boat I went to see the damage, and I noticed there was a crack underneath the scupper. Now the scupper is just kind of like a little shell-shaped thing on the outside that keeps water from splashing in. And I noticed there was a crack under it. Now I had mistakenly thought that the sea chest was basically a box with a tube coming out that went through the boat, and that by fixing a crack underneath of it, that would stop water from getting around this tube and just seeping down into the bilge. Now, I was wrong though. Okay, well, let's get back to the video and I can show you what I mean.
For the air conditioning and a couple other things. And the boat, right around here, there's a crack like this. And I assume it's like here. And then when it's the water line is normally right here. Okay. And then when everyone jumps to the other side of the boat, the water line goes right to like the bottom. Right, I guess it's just low enough that it doesn't get in. So I think the damaged part that get all the way through is right here. Maybe it's even behind this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It could be this thing. This thing could on a profile look might be something like that going through the boat, you know what I mean? And then the leak is here. So
I took the dinghy back out to the scupper, this time with 5200 caulk.
So we scurried around the boat, got everything we could think of that was heavy, and moved it to the other side.
But it didn't solve the problem. And it was because I was wrong about how the sea chest worked. It's not that it's a box with a tube coming out of it. It's say like a box where the hull is actually one of the walls. If you can imagine maybe a shoebox with the lid off, turned sideways and attached to the hull is the one box. So the idea that the water was getting in around a tube was just false. But I could see that water was coming out the bottom of this sea chest, so I had the right area, but I had the wrong concept of how this sea chest worked.
okay, so here's the situation. We are in Chub Cay. We managed to make our way here through the night after hitting that seawall, and I just had a chance to inspect the damage, and we actually came out pretty lucky considering. A little bit beat up on the side in a small area, maybe about this big, and not even worse than what happened to us when we hit those loose screws in Savannah. So it's really not all that bad. However, there is a sea cock or a sea chest on the side of our boat there with a little exit, I don't know what you want to call it, like a vent, that must have hit the wall because we were getting water leaking inside the boat. Not often, but like if we used the air conditioner, we were finding that we were getting water in our bilge. We didn't know why. Well, we discovered that when the sea cock must have hit the wall, it loosened the sea chest on the inside of the boat. So now there's a little thin kind of crack where it was attached and water's coming out of there. Now that sea chest is used mostly for our air conditioning system in our master cabin and also the sump for the shower. So it's nothing critical, but without it being fixed, we don't have air conditioning in our bedroom. So that's kind of critical to me. Anyway, so today's project is I got to get in there and I'm going to fiberglass around where this sea chest came off the wall. And it's a little bit of a project because the hot water heater is in the way, so I'm going to have to remove a hot water heater just to get into this space. So that's our project today. We are here at Chub Cay for 3 days waiting out this tropical depression or whatever it is that's running through the area. So we happen to be in a good spot for a couple of days, and I happen to have the supplies that I need. So we'll see how this goes.
Roger out.
Cheers. Hey.
Cheers. Hey.
Like, subscribe, share. Yeah, it's not helping.
Nothing on it.
There's no side view. It just shows us where they are and we know where it is. So the part that I need to fiberglass the sea chest is over there, and I can't fit in through the top, and the only way to get in there is to remove this hot water heater, which is a little bit of a pain in the neck, but that's about the only thing we can do. So right now we've got the cabinet taken apart. We're going to pull this hot water heater out, and then I'm going in.
Going in. Let's give it a couple seconds.
I'm using the pressure relief valve. It's kind of like a, an upside down bottle won't empty unless you can let air into it.
You need rougher sandpaper?
Rougher might be better. I'm just trying to roughen it up to make sure that the new layer sticks. I don't have to like grind anything away.
Sealing that crack?
Yeah.
I can't even see.
Okay, going in for layer 2.
Really messed up my room.
Yeah. Well, that's it. We put 3 coats of a thick fiberglass cloth over where this little seamed crack was. And then I went a little overboard, and I went higher and lower and out and all that. So I think we've got it. We'll see. We're gonna let it set up for, I don't know, maybe 3-4 hours. Go relax, have a drink, maybe hit the pool bar, and then come back and test it. Hopefully it works.
And then I can put my clothes back in the closet.
Yes, and I'll reinstall the hot water heater and everything else that needs to be done.
Yeah. This could be victory or this could be disaster.
I like to think of it as the agony.
It's definitely
of defeat.
victory.
Dun, dun, dun.
How do we look?
It's pumping.
Is it pumping?
It has to be. Yes. I'm gonna.
Do you see anything?
Open this.
See any water?
No.
Well, good, because you're not supposed to.
So open this thing up. Make sure that it's.
Make sure it's pumping.
And I'm gonna open your. I'm gonna drain your tub.
Yeah.
Let her go.
Yeah, let her go. There's like a suction thing under it.
It's just a flat thing. Lean that up sideways, pull the flat thing out. Nice ass.
Oh, here we go. Here comes the big.
Here it goes. Moment of truth.
This is the big. This is filling, and here comes the big.
It's about to go. It's about to blow.
It's gonna blow like. There it's
There it
blowing.
goes. There it goes. Okay. Okay.
It smells like
Dirty water.
victory.
It smells like. Is that what that's?
That was the line. It smells like victory.
It smells
Line?
like dirty water.
Victory? Smells like victory. Francis Ford Coppola?
I saw one little drop.
Oh no.
One tiny little drop.
Okay, that's
Okay,
that's
that's
a negative.
Okay.
Keep running.
It's still pouring out. There's a second blow.
But the real challenge is I'm going to go hook up the air conditioner for this room.
Let's go
Because
see.
that's a continuous flow.
Yep.
That's not like a flush the thing,
Yep.
and then see what happens.
Well, the leak was fixed, but I saw a drop of water, and I guess it kind of made it paranoid. I don't know if it was there still or it was still leaking a little bit. So I ended up throwing a couple more coats of fiberglass. And then I took 5200 and I kind of coated the whole area in 5200. I think this is now the strongest part of our boat, but it's certainly not leaking anymore. Okay, well, I've put a couple of layers of fiberglass on and around the sea chest at this point. and I'm getting ready to do another layer as well. But I wanted to talk about it a little bit because it seems kind of odd. We have 3 sea chests on this boat. The other 2 appear to be fiberglassed into the existing hull and integrated into the hull. This one appears to be epoxied on, which is odd. Like, you can see the edges of the sea chest itself, which you couldn't see on the other ones, and then they're hard edges, and that's where it detached from the hull. And I don't know, I'm just getting the feeling that this is not the first time that this area has been addressed. I also see another colored white area that looks like a repair job on this. So I don't know, it's odd. I don't like the design personally to begin with, and Hatter has changed this design in newer models than this. In fact, I have a friend with a 52, and instead of having a sea chest and just 1 or 2 exits out of the boat, he's got maybe 15 little through holes, and I think that's the way they started doing them in the 80s. Anyway, I think I'm going to get this working fine, but I think it's something I might want to address in the future. There's only 3 things that go to this sea chest: my air conditioner in the master stateroom, the sump for the shower, and the sump or the bilge for the aft bilge. So I think I might just replace this whole thing and put 3 different through holes eventually. Anyway, nothing I'm going to do right now. We're on a trip, and I'm just going to make sure I got everything safe and working right. So let me get back to it.
Whenever something goes wrong boating, we like to kind of sit down, usually over a drink, and kind of figure out what went wrong, why it happened, what we learned from it, and what we're going to do to minimize the chances of it happening again. What was easy? What happened is the anchor slipped and we drifted a couple 100 yards into a rocky cliff. Now the why is a little bit more complicated, and in fact I've come up with at least 8 different things that had to go wrong in order for this to happen.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing that had to happen, I guess you could say, was that I anchored on the windward side of an island, and I almost never ever do that. I don't like to do that. What windward means, if you're new to boating, it just means that I'm on the side of the island where the wind is coming, and that if I should drift, I am going to drift into the island as opposed to, say, drifting out to the ocean. So that's first thing. If I had not done that, now there was a reason. First of all, there was no real leeward side to get to unless we went all the way around this island, and it was a long trip, and the weather was calling for 5-knot winds. So I wasn't particularly concerned about it, but anyway, that's the first thing that had to go wrong.
Yeah.
Now, I just mentioned the weather. We believe what happened, number 2, was that a squall must have come through while we were sleeping.
Or a monster. Loch Ness.
Yeah, Loch Ness Monster. Something caused our anchor to slip and push us towards the island. And there's no reason a 5-knot wind would ever move this boat like that and pull up an anchor. So we believe that something similar to that squall that had hit us earlier in the day. Now, it wasn't forecast, but that doesn't mean anything. Sometimes things just materialize. Weather's not perfect. So that was number 2 that had to go wrong. Now the third thing was that our anchor, when it slipped, there was no vibrations. Usually when an anchor drags, it'll try to dig back in. The flukes will try to go back in. You'll hear and you'll feel this happening. Yeah, this didn't happen.
Wow.
At least we didn't notice any of it. And it's possible that when the anchor came up, that maybe it landed on a log or who knows what, maybe a big grassy patch or something, but for some reason it was dragging and it wasn't noticeable that it was dragging. The fourth thing, and I think this has come up so much in comments, we have an anchor alarm and it failed. I have an anchor alarm set, it's an app on my phone, and I have it set. I set it immediately once we set an anchor, and then I take it to bed with me and it sits on my nightstand so that if we should drift, which does happen occasionally, alarm goes off, I get out of bed, and we go check it. The anchor alarm failed. I found out later when I turned it on that it had lost the GPS signal. So that had to go wrong. Another thing that had to go wrong was we had a second anchor alarm. Our crew member Eric had set his as well, and I think what he had told me was that the battery on his phone went dead that night. So we had 2 anchor alarm fails. So yeah, what do we count that? Is that 4 and 5, I guess? The next thing that went wrong, and this is completely me, is we were using the wrong type of anchor. We were using our Fortress, which is what, a Danforth anchor. Basically, it has the 2 flukes that go into the dig in. The anchor, it's really meant for mud and clay. It's not meant for being in the islands. And we ended up using it originally because when we bought the boat, we were new. We didn't really know much about anchors, much about anything. And it came with the boat and it was on. And the person who owned the boat before us went to the islands a lot. And I guess we just kind of assumed that that was the proper anchor. Now, subsequently, I learned that it wasn't. But by that point, I had used it so many times without fail that I guess, honestly,
I felt safe with it because I was used to the anchor.
Yeah, it was just we were used to setting it, but the reality was we just probably got lucky. It wasn't the right type of anchor. We have changed the anchor since. So anyway, that's my fault. I should have not been lazy. I had another anchor aboard. I had a proper anchor aboard that would have been better, and I should have changed that. Yeah. So. Another thing that went wrong was it was just the timing. When Lynn and I anchor out, we take turns every hour, 2 hours. One of us gets up and does a visual inspection of the anchor, compared to say some bearings that we've taken with objects ashore or maybe another boat. We try to, every couple of hours go up and look at it. It's just, I don't know, habit. I guess we're both nervous about it. But so it just so happened that if this had happened a half hour later, one of us would have been there checking the anchor already. But it happened in this little gap between where we go to sleep and one of us gets up. As you know, we don't do a full, someone on the anchor all the time. It's just really not feasible for us. There's 2 of us on this boat most of the time when we're anchoring. We anchor out so much, it's just not feasible, which is why we've always relied on the anchor alarms and occasionally getting up and checking it.
So I also use the tablet, which tracks where our boat's at. So like even if I'm nervous in bed, I can grab the tablet and it tracks the movement of the boat, and I can see like if we're too far away or if we're cool.
But the timing was just wrong. We were both sleeping when this happened. And I guess the other thing that went wrong was we were next to a rock cliff. I mean, most times when we anchor in the islands, if we drift into the island, we just end up on a sandy beach and wait for high tide and get off of it, or get another boat to help pull us off. Not that that's happened, but that's the way most of the places we anchor are. In this particular case, we were unfortunate that the thing that we ran into was not the shallows a little bit this way. We ran into the rock cliff that was that way.
It's like a coral reef rock.
So I guess, this is 8, 9, I don't know how many things we just said, but a lot of things had to go wrong in order for this to happen. Some of them preventable, some of them, and let's talk about that. I mean, everything is a learning experience, and every year we learn something new. Practically every time we go out on the boat, we learn something new. And when you put as many miles on a boat like we do, about 3,500, 4,000 a year, things are going to go wrong. You can't live.
Stuff is going to happen.
You can't live in if we want to live in a life where there's never any risk of something going wrong, we'd be home. We wouldn't be traveling on a boat. So, but we'll talk about what we learned from all this. One lesson we learned was I spoke earlier about the anchor. So we have since switched to our other anchor, which is a CQR anchor, which is much better suited for anchoring in the island.
It was another anchor that was on the boat at the time.
Yeah, we had it. It's always sat in the locker. We just never used it. Well, now we are. It's our go-to anchor. For now, until we're going to upgrade too. We're thinking about going to the boat show and picking up another anchor. We're kind of leaning towards the Rockna right now, the Rockna Vulcan, I think. But if you have any input on that, let us know. Especially for if you know what we do in the islands, we think that's probably the best anchor for us. So that's number one thing we're doing. We're switching the anchor. The other thing is that we are no longer going to rely just on the app on our phones for the anchor alarm. We have the ability to use our AIS system, which has its own GPS, not relying upon whatever carrier we're using or our phone to set an alarm, and we haven't done it. I guess we've been using our phone app for a number of years now. It's never failed before.
Yeah.
Now we did find out why it failed. Apparently, with the new Samsung phone that I have, if the app that you're using is not the top app, like if it's like one of the things that are, I don't know how you would say it, underneath, not the last thing you did before you put your phone down, it will turn off GPS after a certain amount of time. If you leave the app open and not, say, go text right after you had it open, and make it something that's a sub app, it will stay on. But we're just not going to rely on that anymore. We're going to use it still. But I have an AIS. We have the Vesper, and it does have anchor alarm. The thing is, the alarm for it is up in the bridge, and that's why we always use the phone. So what I'm going to do then is we are going to run a wire from the upper helm where we have our Vesper AIS system, and we're going to run a line down close to the master cabin and put a speaker for the alarm down there as well. So that way I can just let the AIS be the primary anchor alarm, put my phone on the nightstand as a secondary anchor alarm, and hopefully that'll be two different GPS systems running at the same time. And hopefully that'll solve it. And I think the other thing that I learned is, unless it's absolutely necessary, do not anchor windward of an island. I don't
know, what could we have done? I mean, we would have had to move through the night.
I know.
And just,
I guess I probably,
go.
maybe I should have planned it differently. I should have planned a different route or something. I don't know. Maybe it was unavoidable, but I can tell you, I'm going to think long and hard before I do it again. And if I do it again, maybe then we will do a night watch while we're at anchor. Anyway, enjoy the rest of the video, and we'll be back next week with probably more of Chub Cay, and then we're heading over to Nassau, which is going to be fun. We're going to go out to the Berry Islands for a little bit, and if you haven't already, like, subscribe, ring the bell. Oh, you know what I wanted to mention too? If you're a patron, go to the Patreon page, because Lynn, in the middle of all the panic,
the chaos, I did.
She grabbed one of the GoPros, and it's too dark. You really can't see much of anything, but the audio's there.
The audio's
So if you really want to hear in real time us realizing what's going on, panicking, getting our heads together, and it's probably about 12 minutes worth of video. Or
it's three different, because I only turned it off 3 times and I let it roll.
Yeah, so it's kind of long. If you feel like it, check that out. It'll be on our Patreon Facebook page. So anyway,
it will be on Patreon itself, because the Facebook page won't hold that long video. So it's going to be on the Patreon page itself.
Okay, so it'll be there. Well, anyway, I guess that's it for now. If you have any comments, let us know.
Cheers,
And
guys.
see you next time.